Hello. So my family and I have been busy traveling and visiting with family and friends. We had like an early Christmas celebration gatherings. So I feel like I kind of got a jump start on this holiday season, and it's given me some experiences or knowledge to pass forward. So that's what I'm sharing this video on today, is preparing for the holiday season and getting together with family and friends, and how to really help yourself spiritually throughout that process. So especially as empaths, when we gather with family and friends, we love them, right? But it's also really difficult, it's super draining on us. And so just kind of having some tips going into that, I thought would be helpful. So, first off, I want to say that we spent my intention and having kind of some preparation in regards to this trip. I knew some things going into it, and I spent some time kind of sitting with it and what I wanted the experience to feel like, because I had some fears, like, oh, it's gonna go like this and I'm gonna get triggered, which could happen, right? But I spent a lot of time preparing for it. I spent just, sitting with it, and like, how do I want this experience to go? But not necessarily physically how it plays out, but more of emotionally, how do I want to feel? What are the experience I want to feel? And I really wanted to feel really present. That's been a theme coming up, and I think it's true for all of us that we need to have more presence in our life. And so if we get too far into thinking about the future, where future tripping, the anxiety comes, right? And if you start thinking about the past and repeating like a story over and over in your head, well, that creates anxiety. So really the only place where you can find true peace is in the presence. And so if we can just stay in that lane, stay in the presence as much as possible, that's the sweet spot. So I had that intention. I really wanted to be present. I really wanted to feel connected and with these loved ones of ours that we don't get to see very often anymore. So that's the first tip I have, is just like spend some time preparing and thinking about how you want to feel. And then I knew, like I mentioned, I knew that could get triggered. I actually kind of expected it. Anytime you go back home to, like childhood home or places from your past, it's very common to get triggered and kind of revert back to old behaviors, old ways of being. It's almost like a test, like, oh, you thought you were over this. Let's just try it out again. And that's common, normal, totally okay. And but what you do with it is, it's up to you, right? You have the choice. So if you get triggered, you can choose to, ignore it, like, this is annoying, I'm just gonna do the thing that I always do. And more than likely that's gonna come back again, because that's what happens with triggers and lessons. If we don't learn them, they show up again in our lives as another opportunity to learn them. So that's your choice. Or you can choose to learn from it. Say, okay, I'm triggered, this is coming up for a reason, and ask, what is the lesson to be learned here? What can I learn from this? And like, a willingness to learn is just the first step, right? So just having that thought in mind when you do get triggered, to take a step back, take a moment, breathe, and just ask, what can I learn from this? And then the other thing is stay in your own lane. So especially as empaths, especially when empaths are around family and friends and people that we love a lot, codependent behaviors come out. We really want everybody to feel good and happy, right? So that we feel good and happy. And this trip was mostly for me a reminder in boundaries. And I had an opportunity to practice those boundaries and like witnessing others get triggered and not wanting or not interfering in that. So a lot of times we want to help, right? We want to make everything better. And I'll witness somebody getting triggered, and I immediately want to go help them out in some form or fashion. It's very common for empaths to have this desire to make everybody feel good, right? but it's not my job to fix them. They've got to work through their own triggers. They didn't ask for my help. So I was an active observant through most of this trip, and although it was difficult because it's uncomfortable to watch someone be triggered, because as an empath you feel that uncomfortableness, but being comfortable in the uncomfortable was kind of the theme, and just witnessing it and you're like, nope, that's not mine, passing the ball back, that's not mine, I'm sorry you're going through this, that's not mine. Like, so there's a difference between taking that, like being like, nope, like, or versus witnessing it with compassion is what I'm trying to say. Is like, you can hold space for someone and have compassion and empathy for them, but you don't need to try to take that burden on and try to fix them, right? So stand in your own lane and just observing and watching what's going on around you. And also when you go back home, like I said, you can get triggered by what happened for me this time around was more of a memory surfacing. So a lot of memories were just kind of like washing over me, things that I hadn't thought about in years, one right after another. So I was just kind of like sitting in this memory bath throughout the trip. And so those can bring up emotions, and perhaps there are things that just need to be processed or witnessed or observed, felt, and released. And so it's just kind of this like a wave, like allowing them to come in. Oh, I remember that, and that didn't feel so good, and I'm just letting it go, right? Or I remember that, and that was so much great joy in my life, and letting that kind of like come up and like go, like the waves of the ocean. So trying to ride those waves, not get crashed. And then trying to find some time to yourself. It's really hard, especially I have family of 4. We're staying in multiple family homes and friends' houses, and you're not always gonna have like we have your own private time, really. That was the biggest struggle, is finding time for myself, which is so important for my way of being. And it was a real struggle for me, and I tried to get up earlier than everyone else and get some quiet time in, meditation in beforehand, or like trying to sneak, even if you've got to just like go to the bathroom, take a minute, ground yourself. Okay, I'm good, can go back in now. I went for walks when it wasn't 7 degrees outside. Like I tried to get out by myself a little bit every day. So trying to find those moments, those opportunities just to take for yourself, because you do need to recharge, and can be very draining and difficult when you're around all those people, especially loved ones. So, and then lastly is boundaries. And so I kind of touched on this earlier, where like that's not witnessing other people's triggers. What was a boundary for me not to take on others' problems? It's a boundary for me not to take on other people's energy. So setting up boundaries beforehand, like I will not participate in conversations about, whatever. If that happens, I will walk away. So you can set some boundaries up beforehand and then hold yourself to it, like be willing to walk, be willing to, move on, excuse yourself if something comes up that makes you don't want to participate in. But I found just having the intention that like I'm not going to participate in this, or I'm not going to, like I held the vision of what I wanted the trip to look like and feel like. Those things didn't come up at all. Like it's almost like I manifested how I wanted it to flow, and it went really well for me. But I witnessed, some others struggling, and that's their choice, that's their life. But overall, I thought that trip was really great. I felt super tired when we got back home, and I'm learning a lot of and mastering a lot of techniques around boundaries that have been super, super helpful for me, and I witnessed the power of it during this trip. So I will be hosting a free webinar or workshop on boundaries coming soon, so watch for that. But it will definitely include some energetic techniques that have been really, really helpful for me in establishing boundaries, not only like the boundaries that you set, with your family and friends, but boundaries energetically that we can set in place and hold space for. So like when you're traveling and whatnot on the planes, that it just keeps your energy field your own. And I found that to be really, really helpful. So watch for that to come. I hope these tips were helpful. Wishing you happy holidays and safe travels and enjoyment, and just really find some joy and some fun with connecting with family and friends this holiday season. Sending you lots of love.